We are live.
Oh, that's good. Welcome. Today we're going to give you a bit of an inside sneak peek on the Amplify Your Brand Summit, which starts Monday. I can't believe it's finally here. There's been so much prep work behind the scenes. And I'm so excited because my very good friend and co-host of Next Level Influence podcast, Melanie Benson, is going to join me to co-host this morning. So thank you, Melanie.
You're welcome. I'm excited about this conversation. I'm excited about the other people who are joining us on the event as speakers. And there's something really powerful that's emerging right now that the people who join us as attendees and become part of the community, there's something so powerful that's emerging. And we're going to give a little taste of what that is about today.
Absolutely. I'm so excited because I've seriously been, I think I started working on this about June last year, and I really curated the speakers specifically because we are in a really different time of business. I've been in business for over 30 years. Melanie, I know you've been in business for around the same kind of time. And what we're seeing, and I'll let you speak to what you're seeing. So I'll start with me. What I'm seeing is something that I've never seen before. Obviously, we've got a lot of AI coming onto the scene, which hasn't been around before, which is changing the way people do business. Buyers, the way that people buy is so different. The world has just changed. Since COVID, I believe, or what I'm seeing is a lot of trust in the online space being eroded. So it's really, really important that we pay attention to these little cues and pivot our brands as we go. But I'd love to see what are you seeing right now that's making this conversation so important?
Well, we're talking about amplify your brand. The whole summit is about how we amplify our brand. And I think there's never been a more important time to really discover what is it going to look like? What is it going to be like for me to have my brand reach new people when everything's changing? AI is becoming prolific. It's making some types of businesses obsolete. It's providing tools and it's giving an amplification, a possibility to other types of businesses. And one of the things that I think is happening is it's a very easy time to become irrelevant.
Yes, 100%.
And one of the things I'm super excited about, all these amazing experts that you've lined up for very different reasons, every single one of them is profoundly powerful and is an authority in being relevant, relevant to who you are and relevant in the eyes and in the lens, the buying lens of the people that are considering making a purchase. And so I think that's one of the things that's super exciting about this lineup, about the summit next week. By the way, it starts Sunday in America.
It
Right?
does. We have to
So if you're
remember this.
Australian, it's on Monday. But if you're in the US or in Europe, it starts on Sunday, which is perfect, right? So I think that we have to build the muscle. We have to build the skill called, how do I stand out, be relevant, and be chosen when everything's changing and there's a market that has so much new, everyday newness is happening. And the word that comes up for me is disruption. I think we're having a disruption in what was. Most of us don't really know what is, but what we know is people are still going to make choices to continue their work, and we want to be seen when it's their time to buy.
Totally. Let's talk about that time to buy, because this is something I just want to really quickly go on before we welcome in our first speaker. And that is, I'm seeing, or what I heard was these really polar opposites as we came into the new year this year. There was a lot of people that are saying, oh my goodness, there's this, crazy economy and no one's buying. And then there was a lot of people in my world that I was speaking to that were saying, I have just had the most profitable and insane beginning of 2025. So this is why you need to stay relevant, because the money's out there. People are holding onto credit cards ready to spend, but only if it's with the right people.
Mm-hmm. And for the right offer.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's
All of
part
the
of the
right
relevance.
things. Well,
Yes.
let's jump in, because I really want to highlight the speakers and the incredible value that they're going to be bringing. So let's bring in Granier O'Regan. O'Regan. I keep saying O'Regan. Granier,
Yeah.
welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Samantha, and lovely to meet you, Melanie.
You too. Happy to share the stage with you.
Yeah, and it's very late over there. Actually, where are you? When I say over there, would you like to share where you are?
I am in Ireland, and thank you for reminding me that the event actually starts on Sunday here, because I get to remember that. So I just share it with my audience and remind them in Europe, all the Europeans. So yeah, it's 11 p.m., but I'm delighted to be here because I think so much of what you've just spoken about already resonates so much with what I'm seeing as well, and what I'm experiencing, and when I'm talking to other entrepreneurs as well, what they're feeling in the industry.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what's the biggest shift that you're seeing right now in your field? Actually, let me just go back. What is your expertise? Just share a little bit about what you do, who you work with, and then what are you seeing out there?
Yeah. So I'm a mindset coach and business mentor, and I support primarily female entrepreneurs who want to grow their impact and their income, but do it in a way that's sustainable. So no more burnout, no more hustle. And interestingly enough, I think that's something that I'm seeing a lot of. And I think something you touched on there, Sam, is since COVID, I think, we saw the online world like just take off. And I think there's a lot of distrust. I think we spoke about disruption there. I think there's a little bit of distrust there. I think a lot of people have gotten burnt and have gotten burnt out with how they were growing and scaling their businesses. And I think there is a real stripping back to basics of what is it that really people really want. So you kind of have this shift towards AI and all of these amazing resources. And I know you're going to have speakers on this that are going to support businesses, or maybe, make some businesses irrelevant. So that's one side of it. But then there's the other side of it, is how do you keep the human connection? And I think this is the piece that people are craving. I think people are craving that real, honest human connection, and less of this, to be frank and to be straight about it, over promising and under delivering, which there has probably been a lot of over the past number of years and there is a risk of that continuing with the likes of AI and coming in. And I think this is where people are holding on to their credit cards. People are spending, but they want to have more of that trust and connection with people before they spend.
Absolutely. And Melanie, you probably just noticed, as I did, we've got a lot of amazing speakers in the green room and everyone was cheering. It's like, yes, it's about connection. That's what it's about. Absolutely. Your topic that you're speaking about is the secret power of connection to create consistent clients. What's one little tiny teaser that you can give the audience about why they need to come and be a part of your session?
Yeah, I think for me, particularly as businesses kind of grow and scale, it's the part that can get forgotten. And I think both in the buying journey and in the customer journey. And I think, we hear so much about attracting in the right people. And yes, we get to continue to attract in, new clients, new leads, etc. But I think there's a piece as well about the customer experience and their journey with you, because I think it's so much easier to build that connection. And I think people are looking for the depth. And yes, some business models, you may be more breadth than depth. But I think for anyone who wants to have that connection, have longer sustainable businesses where they're not like, it's not like this hamster wheel of clients where you're building more depth with your clients. I think I'll be giving actionable strategies about how you do that from the minute I think collaboration is one amazing way for brand amplification. So what you're doing here is amazing, Samantha, bringing all these speakers. Like, I think that is the one thing that I underestimated at the beginning of my business. And I think what I people do more of that. And I think if we can come together and do more of that and really speak into that human connection, I think that will do a lot to create the disruption, but I would say create the disruption in that we create more connection, because I think
Yeah.
that's it. And like people buy from people. It's based on
Yeah.
relationships. I think there's a bit of getting back to basics. So
I was just about to say, it's like this big travel back to what business used to be. It's like, it's not this new thing. It's just like there's been all these shiny objects thrown around, and it's just time to get back to business. And you've mentioned sustainable quite a few times. Oh, that's showing up backwards. That's my word for the year, sustainability. So I totally agree with you.
And I think like I worked in the retail industry for many years, which is all about customer service, customer first. I remember a company I worked with here in Ireland, they were ahead of the game in terms of, retail and doing things differently and, standing out as a brand. And I always remember the boomerang effect. You want to like bring people in, but you want them to come back. And I think that's something that we get to go back to basics and kind of really listen to what people are wanting. Going back to something you said, Melanie, is our offers. And I think how you cut through, like with your authority and your leadership in how you're connecting with people and storytelling, I think they're the two key differences that are going to, I think for people when they're making a choice, that's the main key difference between, competitors and stuff, is how you tell the story of how you support people and do that through a connected way. So I can't wait to share my insights. People can do that.
So exciting. Thank you for joining us at, I believe it's like 10 p.m. your time. I'm so looking forward to sharing your session next week. And everyone, if you haven't grabbed your ticket, we do kick off on Monday. Grab your ticket at amplifyyourbrandsummit.com. And also, you'll get an email with a link to our private Facebook group. Join the Facebook group and connect with these speakers. They are amazing. We've only met Granier Melanie first, but there's a lot more to come. So, Granier, thanks for joining us today.
It's amazing. So I would say to anyone who hasn't joined, jump in, because I'm looking at the lineup and I've ticked off the interviews I'm going to be listening to, because there's so many incredible speakers in there. And I think it's going to help people in all different areas of your business. So really looking forward to it.
100%. Thanks, Granier. Thanks. Have a great night. All right.
I believe we're bringing up Sally Curtis next.
Absolutely.
Hey,
Hi,
Sally. So lovely to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm so excited about your topic, because I think this is very, very essential right now. Tell us really quick what your topic is, and then I got a little bit of a deeper dive question for you.
Absolutely. So I'm going to be sharing, in essence, how people can turn their book into more social media assets. So it's about creating once and using often.
I love it. So what do you think people do wrong right now? Like, where's a big mistake that they make about amplifying the reach of their brand when they're repurposing their content like that?
The biggest mistake I absolutely see is not all content is good content. So, we were just talking about that. Great content is content that connects, that is a mirror reflection of either your ideal audience, or the emotions that they're experiencing, or the transformations that you create. It's not a navy blue tile with a couple of words on it. That's being a bit
love
blunt,
that.
but you get that.
Yes,
absolutely.
I love that. Yeah, so when people join us next week and Amplify Your Brand, what are they going to be doing differently after they hear your session?
They're going to have the ability to see beyond the words, which is a phrase that I use when I talk about repurposing a book. Everybody usually screws their face up when I talk about, there's so much content in a book, and you can use book, keynote, training manual, whatever the thing is for your big form of content is. But when I say, you can repurpose your book into 2 years worth of content, they pull this face because they don't want to look at that book again, and they automatically think that I'm going to get them to read that book again. But the skill, and I call it a skill because this is something that I have learned. Yes, it might be a little bit of my freaky genius in there as well, but it is actually a learned skill, and that's look beyond the words. Firstly, and if you look at a book structure, the actual structure and the way in which you can utilize it, the book actually holds the key as to how you can actually utilize it. So the biggest thing I'm going to be teaching people is for them, giving them the ability to see beyond their book, see beyond the words, and see beyond the content to the assets that they have already in their hand, in their golden pieces of content that they can leverage and turn into more opportunities for themselves, particularly around these sort of collaborative opportunities where, you know, sometimes you need assets to help share with other people's communities and those sorts of things. So I'm going to really get them to see differently and look to the leverage that they have in their hot little hands already, but aren't seeing it yet.
Oh man, I hear some breakthroughs coming for people in that session. So, okay, authors and authors in the works, you definitely aren't going to want to miss that session of Sally's. So make sure you've signed up at amplifyyourbrandsummit.com so that you can join us. I mean, Sally's one of quite a few amazing speakers, but wow, that's one of my favorite topics that I've heard about so far, Sally. I can't wait to hear it all.
Thank you very much.
Sally, thanks for joining us.
Very welcome.
Awesome. All right. We are going to speak to Jacqueline Brooker next. Let's bring Jack in. Welcome. Welcome.
Hey there. How are we?
We are fabulous. I'll speak for both of us. We are fabulous.
We are excellent.
Amazing.
The royal we.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now,
can I jump in on that royal we?
Yes, it's all of us.
I am so excited about your session because you're talking about your voice being your advantage. And I know and that Melanie and I both talk a lot about using your voice to your advantage. What are you seeing right now in the market in relation to using your voice that may be a little bit different even than it has been?
Yeah, there's a few things. I was actually thinking to myself this morning about what we're noticing, what we're seeing, because there's so much going on at the moment. And there is a couple of things. There's a lot of people talking about, AI and the rise of AI and what does that mean? And I feel as though entrepreneurs and experts particularly are not understanding that AI means that their voice is more important, right? They're seeing it as it's a crowded marketplace. There's going to be more noise. But actually, if you can master your spoken word content in your authentic voice, you are going to have an unfair competitive advantage into the future. And also, people are seeing AI as an either or. So it's either AI, the voice of AI, or the voice of me. And it's not an either or, it's a yes and. So yes, AI is in place. And if you use that as an advisor instead of an assistant, it will actually accelerate your breakthrough. So I'm seeing the ones that are actually understanding that really accelerate fast. And the other thing is people are getting really confused about, they're doing all the things and they're visible in all the places, but they're not getting the results that they want. And so I'm finding that people are actually starting to ask questions about that. And what they're missing is actually being memorable at a cellular level, and that's deliberate. So visibility and being busy is not enough. And what I'm noticing is people haven't got quite to the realization of what they're doing wrong yet, but they're at least starting to ask the question.
I mean, Melanie, this is a conversation we've been having, right? It's changing, and we can say that speaking has always been the foundation for entrepreneurs, but it is different now. And I think that we really need to lean into that so much more, and not just for influence, but for this trust building. That the last two people spoke about trust and building connection. And I think that that speaking gives you such an amazing advantage to do that. But in your session, because I have had a sneak peek, you're like, it's not just about getting on the stage. Can you share I want you to share why what you talk about is different without giving it away.
Okay, here we go. I say it so often, I'm like, how do I actually make that distinction? So I think I touched on it just then. And if I can just loop back to the AI for a moment, what people don't realize is AI is an accelerant of trust because it can get you to the right places faster. Your voice doesn't change, but it can get you to the right places faster, which means you show up more often in the right places. Why just getting the stage is enough? So many people God, how do I do this without giving it away?
Give
So
it
many
away,
people
because
are
this
actually
is only
using,
such a tiny part of the goal that you give. Just give it over.
so many people are actually using the wrong metric. So they're getting applause, they're getting liked, they're getting loved. Your work is amazing. You're so good. It should be everywhere. And then they're walking away and they're closing the door and they're like, I'm doing all the things, I'm speaking on the stages, they love me, but I'm not making any money. And so the biggest mistake I'm seeing, and what we talk about that's quite different, is you have to actually be very deliberate in how you speak on that stage. And if all you're getting is applause and not revenue and growth, then you're actually doing it the wrong way. Like, full stop. There is no argument. If you are, and it doesn't matter how great the applause is. And we have some cases at the moment of people who just won't shift away from that dopamine hit of the applause, and they're not going to make it. Some of them are professional speakers, some of them are experts to drive their business, and they're just not going to make it, because whilst you're sitting in loving the applause and getting your dopamine hit and feeling a sense of achievement from that, you are actually going to stay as a nice to have, not a must have. Now, if you're speaking as a speaker or speaking to drive growth, you've got to be a must have, or else all the stuff in the world will not matter.
There you go. You heard it right here. Definitely need to be joining us next week. Like I said, we do kick off Monday in the Southern Hemisphere. Hang on. Monday in the Southern Hemisphere, Sunday in the Northern Hemisphere. Wow, I worked backwards. That was crazy. Jump into the pop-up Facebook group for Amplify Your Brand Summit. Connect with Jacqueline and all the other speakers, and definitely catch her session. Jacqueline, I'm really excited to be collaborating with you next week. I love your topic. It is the depth that you bring is like nothing I've ever heard from any other speaker coach.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what your audience takes away from it, because I'm hoping we change some thinking and change some results with it.
Let's do it. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Changing paradigms, Sam. We're changing paradigms.
Oh my
Man,
goodness.
that is rich.
Seriously.
Oof.
What have we had? 3 people speak, and already it's like,
yeah.
All right.
Now I'm even
next?
more invested.
We have got Renee to be. I'm going to have to actually double check how I say this. I'm going to bring Renee in because I don't know if I've got this right. Welcome, Renee. Is it DiBiase?
DiBiase.
There we go.
Yes.
So wonderful to have you join us.
Hello, lovelies. Hello. It's so excited to be here. Making waves.
Yeah.
Making change.
Bringing the energy up. Woo-hoo. Yes, man. What an amazing lineup. Could you imagine if we were all like in the same place at one time?
No, I can bring the house down. Let's bring it down. Let's light this thing up. Yeah, no, I love it. I've been listening in to some of the topics previously, and it's so true. It's so true. Things are shifting so rapidly right now. We can hardly even keep up with what's happening. So this summit is just perfect timing to really keep people abreast of what is happening in 2025. How do they brand themselves? How do they make the shifts in a timely manner? Like, we don't have time, right? We do not have time to really analyze and reflect. Like, it's about move and shift and move and shift. So yeah, it's a lot going on.
Okay.
And excited to be here.
I got to ask you a question about that, because now you're getting me all pumped up about this idea of like moving and shifting, right? So there's a fine line between chasing bright, shiny ideas, which Sam was kind of alluding to earlier, and really knowing when it's time to lean in, make a leap, pivot what you're doing, and like go deeper into where people need to see you and how you're going to stand out in your brand. What's one thing you want people to know about that maybe links back to what you're going to share with us next week?
Yeah, you know, I've really spent some time thinking about this, because what I've seen over even the past 6 months or so is that it's no longer just about having the right message, right? We've spent so much time on tweaking the right message, but it's really also about how you present that. Do you own the stage? Are you a powerful presenter? Are you moving people into action? Like that is really the biggest shift, at least for speakers, experts, leaders, is it's all about the implementation from the information into action. And in order to really do that, you have to have a powerful delivery. You have to get people up and moving. And I think that's the biggest thing. People don't want information anymore. We're so overcooked with information. People want transformation. And how can you, as the brand builder, as the leader, how can you help people to step into that in a way that causes them to be excited, in a way that makes them safe in their bodies, right? In a way that then benefits them and the people that they're serving. So the shift is really about your presentation. You have got to get out there and be the mouthpiece for your business. You can't hide behind a computer anymore. You can't hide. It's about putting yourself out there. So I think that's the real game changer, is streamlining your delivery and really standing out with your message.
Boom. We need like emojis or
I
like
know, like a
balloons or
little
something.
mic drop.
Yeah, we need some energy. Renee, tell us really quick, what is the focus of your talk next week? If we didn't already get that, but what's your topic?
Yeah, so it's about how to be a kick-ass speaker, because in order to sell offers, like I see this all the time, you could be the smartest person in the room. You've got the most amazing service or product, and you are a heart-centered entrepreneur. You are here to help, you're here to serve. But if your message falls on deaf ears, if you are not resonating with the head, the heart, and the hands, it doesn't matter. And I think you've talked about this, Sam, where you can't be the best kept secret.
No.
It's time for you to step out. So being a kick-ass speaker, people think, oh, well, I'm not a speaker, I'm an expert. No, you are a speaker. If you are here with a message to serve, you are a speaker. It doesn't matter if you're on a stage of 10,000 or if you're on a Zoom call with 10, you are a speaker, and you have to be the one to articulate your message so that it moves people to action. And you do that with emotion. I love the quote from Maya Angelou. You guys may have heard this. She said, people will forget what you said. They will forget what you did, but they will never, ever forget how you made them feel. And that's what the world is hungry for. They're hungry for that connection. Exactly. They're hungry to be seen and heard. And you have to be able to do that in your business as an entrepreneur, as an expert, as a leader. Otherwise, it's just more information. It's just more of the same.
Yep. And we can get information everywhere. I love
It's
this.
not lasting. Yeah.
Exactly.
So good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Renee.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely grab your ticket at amplifyyourbrandsummit.com. Jump into the Facebook group so you can connect with Renee and the other speakers. Sorry, Renee, I hit that button way too fast. Thank you so much for what you shared. My brain is going in the different speed to what my fingers were going then. Melanie, I want to take a little segue. You are one of our expert speakers for Amplify Your Brand Summit, which I'm so excited about because I absolutely love your topic, and it's like the foundational topic, I feel, for what everyone is talking about. So actually, let me ask this. How did you fall on this? Because you've been in business for a very long time. So I'm guessing that you are so good at what you do because you've gone through this process yourself.
Yeah, I think, I talk a little bit about the invisibility trap and what it's like when you allow yourself to fall into these traps of being ignored. And, there's a lot of reasons. We don't have time to get into it, but we will be talking about some of the reasons why even really sophisticated, highly talented entrepreneurs and service providers find themselves being invisible. You can be the best at what you do, and you can still be invisible. I personally went through so many waves of this over the years. And what I know is if you don't have a message that acts like a beam of possibility and engagement, like if it doesn't just shine really bright, it's super easy to be invisible. Let's think about why. There's 700 maybe people that you get emails from on a regular basis. When they all start saying the same, guess what? You're invisible. How many people are on social media? Thousands. Guess what? If your message isn't like parting the waves and acting like a tractor beam, pulling in the people that need to hear what you talk about, you're invisible. And let's also talk about, the podcast guesting. We're going to talk a lot about the power of podcasts in the summit next week. I've been podcasting for 12 years. I've been guesting on podcasts for probably just as long, if not longer, speaking on stages all over the world. And you know what makes a difference is your topic, your message. And if you want to get on podcasts these days, your message has to cut through the noise. It cannot blend in and sound like everybody else. So I think that one of the reasons I'm so passionate and driven about helping people unlock what I call a lighthouse message is because there's a lot of really talented people at all stages of business who are invisible instead of being unignorable. You want to be unignorable. You want your work to stand out and like really cut through the noise and let people know how you are the one that they're looking for. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. And yeah, I have my story around that. Not going to fit into 5 minutes, but I certainly had my dance being invisible and being unignorable. And I know what the difference is. And I know right now, as we're moving into these times where there is a lot of crowded energy, there's a lot of people saying a lot of similar things, buying behavior is changing, new technology is disrupting our space. It's really important to know how to turn up the notch on your message and allow that message to do a lot of the heavy lifting in your marketing.
Absolutely. So definitely come and catch Melanie's session, because it's not just about messaging. Like where Melanie goes is really deep and helps you to understand not just how to craft a message or craft your lighthouse message. It's about how to actually implement that message and use it to leverage into other opportunities. So yay, can't wait for that. So grab your ticket, amplifyyourbrandsummit.com, and definitely join the pop-up Facebook group and connect with Melanie and all the other speakers before we kick off on Sunday. If you're in US, Canada, Europe, or if you're in Asia, Australia, New Zealand, we kick off on Monday. I think let's bring in another speaker. I know you just mentioned podcasts. We've got Jessica Rhodes here. I'm going to bring
Jessica's here.
Jessica's in the house.
Jessica! Hey, Jess.
Hi, Melanie. Hi, Samantha. It's so good to see you both.
Now, Melanie was just talking about getting podcast opportunities. This is absolutely what you do.
Yeah.
How do you use podcast guesting to really leverage your brand growth?
Oh my gosh. I mean, where do I begin? Like Melanie said, I don't know if I could fit this into even.
And that's why you have to come to Jessica's session next week.
You have to come to my session. I mean, it dovetails perfectly from what Melanie was saying, because it is all about your message and it's about being seen. And nowadays, everyone's trying to be seen through like short form content. Everyone's trying to get that hook on social media. But if you really want to move, and the speaker before this was talking about like emotion and how, you make people feel. You do all of that through an effective podcast interview. You connect with the host, you have chemistry there, you share your story and move people and inspire people and motivate people. And then you do it really strategically to where you invite the listeners to take a specific action, to get a specific free gift from your website, to connect with you, on social media. So it is just the best top of funnel brand awareness strategy ever, because it really is about relationships.
Oh, could not agree more. I do want to touch on one thing though, and Melanie alluded to it about your messaging. We know now that there's about a 40-to-1 ratio of podcast guests to podcast hosts. That means for every 40 opportunities, 40 people, there's one opportunity. So what do you see as the thing? I can't think of another word, so I'm just going to use the thing that people need to lean into to make sure they get that opportunity.
I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is having an effective podcast one sheet. Having a way to communicate to podcast hosts the unique value that you can bring to their show. What you want to avoid is what I see happen all the time, where people go into these Facebook groups and they're like, I want to be a guest. Does anyone want to have me on their show? I have a book coming out. And it's like, this is not helping your reputation, your positioning, anything. Like, I want to promote something. Who wants to have me on their show? You're not going to get the best bookings. Maybe you'll get some bookings, but they're not going to be probably on quality shows. But when you have a one sheet, it's a one-page PDF that says to the host, here's my bio, which kind of communicates your credibility and what gives you the right to talk about what you talk about, and interview topics that aren't just like, oh, I could talk about marketing, I could talk about podcasting, but like, what's the problem that you help people solve? What's a specific methodology or a strategy that you're an expert in? Give them some questions to ask, like make their job easier by feeding them some questions that they could ask or they could not ask, but just like a one sheet is the one thing every podcast guest should have.
That's just one of the tiny things that you're going to be, or one of the specific things you're going to be talking about. Why do people want to come to your session next week? What will they learn?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to learn how to actually be strategic with the podcast guesting strategy. Because to your point, 40 podcasts to every one show. Everyone wants to be a guest on podcasts, but the vast majority of people that want to be a guest are doing it super ineffectively. They're either not getting booked, or they're getting booked, but they're not on the right shows, or they're on the right shows, but they're not giving good stories. Like, there's so many things that people are not quite hitting the mark on. So they're not seeing the ROI. And so you want to come to this session to actually learn how to implement podcast guesting effectively in your business so you see real measurable growth from the strategy.
Boom. Melanie, as hosts, we are all for everything that Jessica just said, right?
Oh yeah, I'm all about the visibility advantage and maximizing your ROI if you're going to be a guest. No sense doing it otherwise. And Jess is one of the pros. Jess and I have known each other a very long time, and I know she was there in the beginning when all this industry was born. So you're going to get to learn from a pro, friends. Make sure you sign up. Let's drop that link again, amplifyyourbrandsummit.com.
Awesome. So
Thanks,
Jessica,
Jess.
I so look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks for having me on here. See you next week.
Bye.
Oh, wow. It's all happening. So
There's
good.
so many amazing guests. So many amazing guests you lined up. Oh, so good.
Now,
let's see. Is it Suzanne next? Is that who we're bringing up?
I believe it's actually Kiri Marie. We did a bit of a change
Nice.
around of the schedule. So I'll bring Kiri Marie in, and I'll let you take it away, Melanie. And here she is, Kiri Marie Moore.
Kiri Marie.
Hey,
Nice to see
so
you.
good to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'm very intrigued after what we've just heard about your topic, the power of presence. And what is a gem? What's one little amazing nugget that if, like, how are we going to stand out by leaning into the power of presence?
Well, I don't know about you, but I think that there's a lot of noise and uncertainty out there. And I know that when you have a presence, you just show up with a difference at the table. There's value the moment you walk in the room, the moment you're on a platform, the moment you show up. And it's that people will be drawn to you and will amplify your authority.
Yeah. You have that quality. You definitely have
Thank
that
you.
quality. I mean, we're connected online and I hear about you through Sam all the time, but there's something about how that quality, yes, through the microphone, yes, through stage, but when you can bring it into that kind of one-dimensional activity on social media, that's what pulls people in. What do you think people who are trying to emulate this, like, I want to be seen, I want to be connected, but maybe there's a little place they're missing with that presence that's causing them to fall flat?
Yeah, I think what's easy is that we think when you've got a presence like that, it's got to be a certain way. And what I love about presence is, what is it that you bring? What's the value that you bring? What is it that you believe in and need to stand strong and actually show up and bring to the table? And I think that if I look at what has been in the past, was I wasn't able to do that. Many in my world weren't able to do it really well. And it's learning learning the skill or the strategies to how do we do that well, and how do we actually not just show up, but that has an effective, in other words, that there's a return on every decision we're making as we're talking, as we're moving, as we're connecting with the next partnership, as we are going and speaking to places. Is it bringing back a return in which we want and need to be able to do what we are meant to do in life at a bigger place? And many want to scale to a whole different level. Well, I believe this is actually a secret sauce to scaling to another level.
I love this idea of return on decision. I've not heard it before in this package, but it makes so much sense. That's what we're wanting. We need to make decisions. We need other people to make decisions, and business doesn't move and it doesn't flow fast enough. Who was it at the beginning, Melanie? Someone was talking about, it was Granier talking about the speed that we need to do business right now. And so part of that is getting those decisions made. So I love this so much.
Yeah.
And that's part
absolutely.
of, just on that one, Sam, that's part of what I believe is so important about the return on a decision, right? Is the speed, the capacity, and then how you want to play.
Yeah. All right, Kirimi, I got a really good one for you here.
All
Someone's
right, bring it
deciding
on.
whether or not they should sign up, which is completely free, but it is a decision. It's a decision of time, of like where we're putting our attention. Why should someone make that decision, and what's the return you see them getting?
Yeah, I think a better question actually is to ask is this, and I say this in a fun way, because are you where you want to be? If so, that's a real sad spot, because how boring is life if you actually are where you want to be? If you're not, sign up, get your ticket to Amplify Your Brand Summit, because there's going to be a new strategy, a new insight that you might learn. Maybe there's something that you haven't thought on in that way that you can now get because someone has walked a pathway in front of you. And that's what I love about this sort of environment, is that every single speaker brings something different to the table, and that is, there's always one thing we can learn, even if it's only one thing, and there's usually zillions that you learn from each speaker.
Look,
Nice.
this is just this session this morning. Like, we've been here for 40 minutes and every single person has already had multiple mic moments. We haven't even got into the sessions yet. Like, it's going to be amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, and we look forward to seeing you
welcome.
next week. So definitely sign up, but also jump into the pop-up Facebook group so that you can connect with Kiri Marie and all of the other speakers. Sorry, I keep changing what we're talking about, Melanie, and you're probably looking going, where is Sam going?
I'm in flow with Sam. I just following your lead, my friend. Just following your lead. Who do you want to bring up next? Who's our next lucky
Suzanne
contestant?
Ingram next. So Suzanne,
Awesome.
let's bring Suzanne into the room. Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome. It's so great to have you here. You are talking about how to write a client attracting book. Talk to us about why we want to do that, and what is a client attracting book and how is it different? I mean, it sounds obvious, but actually, how is it different to a normal book? Like not a normal book, just a book. Let's go with that.
An authority book.
Thank you, Melanie. See, she always picks my words.
Exactly. Well, I see a lot of people come to me and say, hey, Suzanne, I wrote a book. Can you help me publish it? And it's not good because they haven't written it from a perspective of, what do I want my reader to know? How do I want my reader to feel? What's in it for the reader? Because we're all so busy nowadays. You're actually asking your reader to give you 5 to 10 hours to read your book. It better be good and it better be helpful for them, because a lot of times in the past, people could just write books about themselves, and it's not like that anymore. If you want to stand out in a really crowded market, write a really good book that's going to help people. That's my philosophy, and it has been for 15 years.
What is the shift that you're seeing? You talked how it's not like that anymore. What's the shift that you've noticed just recently?
Well, AI is a huge shift recently, and people send me books that are obviously written by AI. And what happens is that it strips out their entire personality, and
Mm.
authenticity is really important, especially in your book. Your book is, if you think about it this way, if you're in business and you've written a book, it's a way for your reader to just dip their toe in the water a little bit and find out if they're going to like you or not, right? So
Mm.
you really have to be real. You have to show your true values and who you truly are in your book in a professional way, which, there's that too, but so that people can just get that one step closer to you and then take the next step to either work with you or whatever they want to do next with you. So the
Totally.
problem with AI is that AI is just, I mean, you can use AI for sure to come up with ideas for certain things, but not to write your book. And that's what I'm kind of trying to yell from the mountaintops these days.
Yeah, totally. What's one thing you want to share about why you don't want people to use AI? Like, I just really want to drive this home because this is what this
Mhm.
summit's all about. It's AI is there. We can't
Mhm.
ignore it. We have to use AI
Yeah.
in our business, but there's places that we do use it and places we don't. So for anyone
Mhm.
that's like, oh, but I'll be able to do it different, what do you want to say to them right
Mm.
now?
Well, okay. I think it's important to build a foundation for your book first to really get clear on who you're writing it for. So you can use AI to help you understand your ideal client better. But when you write a really solid outline properly with the main idea for every single chapter and all your subpoints underneath there, if you just feed that into Claude or ChatGPT, it's not going to be good because it literally has none of your stories, none of your experience, none of the things you want to say about like don't make mistakes I made or that sort of thing. So it's really, really obvious. The worst part is when someone sends me a book and it literally says, in this chapter, we're going to discuss blah, blah, blah. And then it says, welcome to chapter 2. And I'm like, no, please, no. It's like, hello, Chat GPT. How are you
Yeah,
today? And the thing
exactly.
is, everybody's in a rush, and there's people out there that are promoting write a book in a weekend or write a book in a week. Yeah, and it's really like it drives me crazy because there are these guys that are saying it doesn't really matter. Your audience is not stupid, and it does matter. So
Totally.
it's like the message out there is saying, just throw something together in one day. Who cares what your audience thinks? Get it out there and start selling it so that you can start making money. But that's not how I operate. And that's not how I want my clients to be operating either.
So you did talk about
So
AI.
good.
I know that you're going to talk a little bit about in a session, in your session. Can you give us a couple of little pieces of what people will get when they come to your session next week at Amplify Your Brand Summit?
Well, I guess you can already tell sort of what I'm like. I'm not about, quick, throw something up there and see if it sticks. I really help people think about what needs to go into their book so they can do it in a meaningful and caring way. I love to think of books as a customer journey, a way of saying to your ideal customer, let me show you the way. Let me show you what's worked for me, what's worked for my clients. And it's a kind and authentic marketing piece. Really, I think a book is the best marketing piece you can have if it's done right. But also, I mean, I don't know what you're going to ask me yet, Sam, but I hope to talk about how you can use your book as part of your overall business.
Mm.
And I know the other speakers you have coming are really going to help with that too. That's what I loved about being invited to this summit, because the speakers you have are so amazing. And whether someone's an author or not, if you're a person in business, you gotta sign up for the summit. I'm so excited to attend all the sessions. They're just going to be amazing.
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time curating true experts and bringing all of these pieces together, because it would be lovely to think that your business can run with just having one strategy, but it doesn't work like this. We need all of these different topics,
No.
and they fit together to create just like a beautiful jigsaw puzzle. And when you're doing a jigsaw, there's nothing worse than finishing and having that like one little blank bit that there's no piece to go in there. So that's what this is all about.
Yes.
So Suzanne, thank you. Everyone,
Exactly.
definitely grab your ticket again at amplifyyourbrandsummit.com. Join Suzanne for her session and connect with her in the pop-up Facebook group. And look forward to seeing you next week, Suzanne.
See you next week.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Now, I'm really excited about the next person that we're about to bring up, because since I spoke to her last, and I'm going to share this, I have been nerding out crazy. So let's bring Kayla G in.
Yes,
Because
Kayla G.
Kayla is in the house.
Oh my
And
gosh, I was laughing.
I got a little story about Kayla G. And I talk a lot about the visibility multiplier effect. Kayla G is like the boss when it comes to visibility multiplying. Like, I watched you off the hook in the last 6 months since we first talked. I was like, oh wow, it's amazing. So I'm so glad you're part of this amazing lineup.
Oh my gosh,
You know,
yes.
I got a question for you. I know a little bit about your work, and I've seen you do quite a few talks lately. And we're talking about what has to shift right now. You know, we want to amplify the reach of our brand. What would you say has to shift right now in how many experts are trying to scale their brand and their impact?
Yes, I've been itching in my seat for the last like 50 minutes to answer this, because I'm going to say something that no one has said yet, which makes me so excited. I think what's missing is nuance, because people can share, this is what worked for me. I got to 7 figures. They have all the evidence of what worked for them in their business. And it was like, you do this strategy and be confident and convicted and execute and show up and all the things. But then yet some people will do that strategy and it just won't work for them. And so with my work with human design and gene keys, I really support people. So in my talk, I'm going to be diving into the unconscious human design chart and also the pearl sequence and the gene keys, and really showing people their nuance and how they're designed to be of service and what it means to scale their business. And I can show people why a strategy doesn't work for them. Whereas I feel like a lot of people might say, oh, it doesn't work because you're not convicted enough or you haven't stuck to it long enough. And it's like, there's more nuance than this. And so I'm just out here screaming nuance. And that's why I love human design. That's why I love gene keys. And then I get people into it and they rabbit hole hardcore and we all just have a great time together. So
Yes. Yes, the nerding and going down the rabbit hole with Kayla G is like so big, and it's so amazing and so juicy. Like when you start unpacking all this, I'm like, oh my God, I love this so much. Yeah, so give us a little taste. I know you just kind of give us a little insight into what you're going to cover, but what is the one thing that if somebody was to join us, they're going to sit through all the sessions, but they're going to particularly lean into your session next week, what is going to be different for them afterwards?
yes, I think one thing that we see often online is people talk about our subconscious programming and how that really runs the show when it comes to running our business or taking action in life. And I think we understand this from a conscious level, like, oh, we're subconscious. When you look at your human design chart, you have an unconscious side to that chart. And that is connected to your body, like how your body really runs the show. As much as you think it's your mind, it's your body. And so when you watch my session, what you're going to realize is the nuance in why your unconscious chart is driving how you take action in your business. And you cannot outride it by working harder or trying to be faster. Like, you really need to tap into your unconscious design so you understand how to scale and how to show up, how to sell yourself, how to make an impact. And so I feel like this nuance is that everyone's going to watch the same presentation, but they're going to look at their own chart and have a completely different experience. And this literally makes my heart squeal, because it just makes me so happy. Like, I'm a sacral generator and I'm just so lit to talk about this. So I'm really excited.
Yeah,
I
Melanie,
love it so
Taylor and
much.
I are 6'2" sacral generator twins.
Yeah, well, I'm an emotional, right? And you're the sacral, but we're both 6'2". And our charts, literally, you put them on top of each other, we perfectly balance each other. Like her open centers are my closed centers.
Yep. And they
Yeah.
absolutely fit together like gloves, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love you.
I absolutely. I've had a sneak peek into what Kayla is going to be talking about. You have to catch this session. You have to catch every session, but this session, I've been diving into human design for 6 or so years. I've never heard anyone talk about it in the way that you do. And that's why, since we spoke last time, I have just been nerding out. It has taken me on a trajectory that I'd never taken before. And so you honestly, you have to get onto this session, because I couldn't agree more. I know Melanie agrees as well. It's our uniqueness that is going to make us stand out. We can learn the strategies, we can learn the systems, and yes, we need all of that, but it's our little unique piece, it's that nuance that is going to make our brand amplified. So,
well said.
yeah.
Well said. Kayla G, can't wait to see your session next week. I'm on a Kayla G kick.
Yeah, that makes
awesome.
2 of us. Thanks so
I
much for
love
coming
it.
today, and we look
Thank
forward to
you.
your session next week, Kayla.
Yes, thank you so much.
All righty.
Well, I feel like we have some men on the stage with us that we haven't got to speak to yet.
I
Where's our
know. We've
guys?
talked a little bit about AI, and I'm going to bring Leon in. I call him Leon B because I'm married to a Leon, and there's a lot of confusion in our house when I talk about Leon. So there's Leon Babe and there's Leon B. So let's welcome Leon in.
And he's not the same guy.
It is
Babe,
not
I
the
like it.
same guy. I'm sorry, Leon. I really, really love you, but
That's
I think my
absolutely fine.
husband would get very upset if I
He's
called you Babe.
He's the better Leon for you, that's for sure.
That's right. There's a good Leon for everybody. It's great to have you here. I'm really
Yeah, great to be
excited
here.
because what I really like about what you're bringing to the summit next week is AI, but also how to create personal connection. And I think, Melanie, has it been mentioned by every speaker so far? Personal connection, trust. Talk to us about the current problem that you're seeing out in the marketplace in regards to AI and systems.
Yeah, I think it's a common misconception that utilizing automations and AI and all those amazing tools that are evolving every day, it's just a common misconception that means we're taking the humanity out of things, that we're replacing the human connection with robotic programmed, responses that are canned responses type things. And it's not. It can be the case, but it doesn't have to be the case. And what I cover in our session is this idea of how do we leverage automations and AI to take care of the robotic things that can actually enhance our relationships, that can take care of the care and the reminders and the ability to track and notify both the users and the clients of where they're at in a journey. This concept of just enhancing that relationship, so that when you actually do get the one-to-one, when you get on stage, when you get in front of your clients, that all the minutiae that we'd usually deal with has been dealt with already for us by a trusted assistant that just happens to be an AI agent or an automation that's followed them up and made sure that they were ready for a particular workshop or a sequence or a product or whatever it might be. So I think it's just breaking through that misconception. And so often these days you get people that say, I'm not interested in AI, I'm not interested in automation because I want them to have me. And that's great, but we know how we can run into that, particularly when we're trying to amplify a brand, we're trying to scale a brand. We can run into, there's just not enough of me to go around. So making sure that the genuine, authentic me and you is available when it's needed and when it's important for the things that really matter, as opposed to the authentic you that's reminding them that they have an appointment tomorrow at 4:00. Like that doesn't need to be an appointment, a personal connection. Let's leave the personal connections to the things that really matter. And I think that's where we can use these tools.
Yeah, and what I love about this conversation is a lot of people think there's AI or personal connection, but it's not a or thing, it's an and. We use it together to enhance our personal connections. And that's what I love, why I love what you're talking about. What do you see I guess, as maybe something that's surprising that people get wrong in regards to amplifying their brand?
Well, in relation to this automations and AI kind of component of it, is that they just feel that they're not aware of the opportunities. One of the things that's in the workbook that everyone will get is that this idea of there's the obvious, there's the above the line, above the surface concepts of, reminders and the basic things. People feel there's no personal connection in there, and I'm surprised that that's as shallow as people go with it. There's so much, we can get so much deeper with how we can improve a customer experience, how we can enhance connection and interaction with our clients and our prospects by using the tool. And it's just in the age of AI, where it's everybody's talking about it, it's a huge buzzword, yet the vast majority of that buzz is about how to create 12 different versions of my headshot, or how to create a funny picture. Like,
right.
The real opportunities, no one's looking past the surface. And there's some absolute gold. I know we've got some amazing other speakers on here that are very competent and very experienced with AI. The depth that it can go to just seems to be, not something that people are exploring. So that surprises me. And when it comes to amplifying your brand, you essentially want to, like, you are your brand. You want to amplify yourself and the best parts of yourself. So I think we need to make that a real, like, a precious activity and not waste it on things that don't necessarily need that level of attention from us personally. That's where AI and automations as a whole can really assist in that.
Yeah, there was another one of those mic drops. I love it, love it, love it. I think we've got a really great idea of what you're talking about, Leon. I definitely, if you haven't registered, we start next week, amplifyyourbrandsummit.com. Go grab your ticket. Leon's session is fabulous. And I love the way that you're bringing this humanness into AI, because this is what we, as business owners who want to grow and scale our business to amplify our brand, we have to lean in, or we're going to get absolutely left behind. And I love the way you're talking about it. So, Leon, thanks so much for joining us here today and sharing what you'll be bringing, and look forward to seeing you next week.
Can't wait. Thanks, ladies.
Thanks.
Oh my gosh. I love all the different ways our speakers and our experts are going to tackle AI and the innovation that's also disrupting a lot of the norms, but it's like creating opportunity. And if we don't know the opportunities there, it's so easy to miss it.
Absolutely. I don't know how many people joined us today, but it's less than half of our speakers. Like, if you haven't realized over the last hour how much value these amazing experts are going to be dropping next week, like, my mind's blown. Like, I just get so excited. I could chat to every single one of these people, and yourself, Melanie, for just like a whole day each, just getting all of this gold that you've got to deliver. What's something that you took from today that has got you really excited about next week?
Well, I just mentioning all this opportunity that's emerging with AI, but how to keep it personal, how to keep it tied back into our uniqueness. And I also saw this thread that we've mentioned a couple times now. If we want to stand out, we have to lean into connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a common thread we're seeing through everything right now is connection is where the gold is. We are here right now, you and I, because of a connection that sparked 6 or 7 years ago, right? And connection is what continues to be the life force of amplifying your brand in so many ways. And I think our speakers, it's the royal we again, the speakers that you and Leon have lined up have literally are going to transform and create major breakthroughs. They're going to revolutionize the way we think about our brand and what's possible. Do you want to drop a couple nuggets of who couldn't join today, but is going to be on stage?
Oh my goodness. All right.
Like Bob Berg.
Oh, yes. We've got Bob Berg joining us. The Go-Giver.
Go-Giver, sorry.
And
get the right title, Melanie.
That topic just again plays in. When I reached out to actually one of our other speakers, Mark Mawini, and he said, look, tell me about your vision for this. And I told him exactly what I wanted to curate. And it's this connected community that's not just learning, but learning together and learning from each other. He actually said, let me connect you with Bob. It sounds exactly like he would be an amazing speaker. And that's what he's talking about. He's talking about how we can lead with giving and human connection. And then, of course, I also just mentioned Mark Mawhinney, who's talking about how he grew his Facebook group to over 27,000 people. And it's still growing at hundreds of thousands a day.
Now.
Yeah, it's going so fast. It's the place to be. So he doesn't just talk about growing a community, but also from a business perspective, how he monetizes that community. So that's another couple of speakers.
I'll drop Amy Yamada in,
just
speaking
about
of
to say
connection and
Amy.
AI. Yeah.
Yeah, and exactly like Leon was just saying, that bringing this messaging and human connection and like coming from such a deep heart space and using it and bringing it together with AI. It's just far out, so good. And so many other speakers. Register, go to amplifyyourbrandsummit.com and you can scroll through, you can see all the speakers there. And I haven't even mentioned that we will be doing live sessions in the pop-up Facebook group every day as well. I haven't even talked about that. We'll be announcing all of those sessions on Sunday in the group. So what can I say?
Amazing.
Get your ticket.
Well, be there, be square, as the saying
100%.
goes. There's so much value. And, I speak at a lot of events. I've told everybody that's asked me, this is my favorite event I get to speak at, and I'm honored to come back again. And that's because of the extraordinary connection, community, but also the content is so good. So I can't wait to see you there. If you're joining us because of today, come into the Facebook group, say hi, make sure you're reaching out to the speakers on social media and connect. By the way, that's a hot tip.
100%.
That's one of the ways to start really amplifying the reach of your work in the world. Build relationships with the speakers. So start that by connecting with them on social. Siam, thank you for hosting today. Thank you for inviting me to speak and gathering so many amazing people.
Co-hosting with me. I always appreciate having you in my world, and I look forward to your session next week and all the conversations that we're going to have in the community. So everyone that's been on the live, thanks for sticking around. I hope you got an exciting sense of what next week's going to be like, and we'll see you all next week.
See you all next week.
Ciao.